Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. In today's live stream, we're going to be finishing up the cable management of our power system over here. We've got everything put together, all the battery cables, terminals, all that stuff. That one bolt that we needed came in today. So I've been waiting on this one M8 by 1.0 by 25 millimeter long stainless steel bolt for the battery. So it came in, and now the whole thing can come together. So what we're going to cover is pretty much a bunch of zip tying. We're going to be crimping a 4/0 battery cable, doing some heat shrink. So we're just cleaning everything up, and we're going to put the lid on the top of this power system. Yesterday, while I was waiting for the rest of the stuff to come in, I went ahead and cut a desk grommet. It's a 2.5-inch desk grommet, so that the wake speed regulator cable can actually come through it nice and neat. So I epoxied that in, it's set overnight, and now it's finally ready to be put in. It's taken a minute, but yeah, we're gonna hop on to the van cam over here, and it'll be just running to show you guys how this mess of wires gets cleaned up, nice, neat, and organized. And then we'll also use this guy right here if we need to label anything. I'm a big proponent of making sure everything gets labeled, mainly so I don't forget, but if you are the owner of any of my vans, you can go in and find out where all the wires are, where they're labeled. I label everything as much as I can. So that's pretty much the layout for today's video. I'm also going to be streaming on Instagram over here if you see some weird camera setup. So just kind of playing around with that. And yeah, always open for questions. So we're live. Ask a question if you're interested. And while you're checking out the live stream, I'd love for you guys to hop on over to vanbuilderhq.com. Click on course. I'm launching a DIY camper van conversion course called the Camper Van Conversion Blueprint. There's a little video over here on the right-hand side kind of doing an overview of what's going to be included in the course. You can pre-order today, save some money before it launches on October 1st. And then down here, we just got a couple of bullet points talking about what's in the course. We'll be going over getting started with your van, choosing your van, design and layout, talking about off-grid power system design, fresh and gray water storage, insulation, sound dampening, and then finally we'll cover exterior upgrades like roof rack, solar, AC, ventilation, finalizing your build, and then you'll also, by purchasing this course, get access to our private online community. So this is a forum. We'll be putting all the questions of the course in here. We'll be doing comments from the YouTube channel as well as questions, and then also some feedback from my past customers with Odyssey custom vans, stuff that they were looking for during our consultation, the consultations that I've done with past customers. And I will be in the community forum posting and answering your questions. So that'll be a nice interactive way to get you guys some answers. And yeah, look forward to launching this October 1st. And yeah, you can go ahead and pre-order, purchase this course today for a discount as a thank you. And checkout will be launching it October 1st this year. In the meantime, if you want to check out the DIY van build cheat sheet, both of these links are in the description below. Jumpstart your van conversion today with the DIY van build cheat sheet. This cheat sheet is essentially an Excel sheet of the past 3 years of all the purchases from Amazon that I've delivered to the shop. So anything from fuses, fittings, bolt screws, stuff I use for 80/20, water pumps, solar panels, some Renogy components, and a lot of stuff on this list. There's over 250 items currently. I've got about 100 more that I need to add, and those are coming up in the new version. What's nice is once you get this, you'll be updated whenever I update this DIY van build cheat sheet. I think it'll really help you with your DIY van build, and all you gotta do is click download the free cheat sheet, put your name and email address in there, click download. It's gonna go right to your inbox, and I think it'll really help you out with your van building journey. All right, it's time to get to work. Let's get in the van and start cleaning up all this wiring and cable management. I'm also going to hop on Instagram. Still working on the Instagram. When you do Instagram Live, you can't put any links into the feed. So you can do it in your stories and you can do it after the fact. So yeah, I'm kind of playing around with it on my personal account. And then hopefully we can do something different with Van Builder HQ. All right, so let's see, can you guys see what we're working on? Okay, I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit. Let's zoom in here. Let's get some really good footage because cleaning this up sometimes could be the stressful part of a van build, and I want you guys to just see a real life view of how all this mess gets cleaned up, organized. All right, let's begin. All right, let me get here on my Instagram. All right. Hey guys, we're in the shop today. We are working on cleaning up this off-grid power system in this van build for one of my customers. So we're doing a bunch of upgrades to their van, and one of those is installing a second alternator. So they decided to go with a Nation second alternator with a wake speed regulator. So we're going to get pretty nerdy here in just a minute, but essentially what we're talking about is we got a 280 amp alternator. We got a little brain box right here, and we've got this huge chunky 4/0 cable that's coming to the back of the van. It was definitely a challenge getting it from the front to the back of the van in a nice, neat way, and it involved taking pretty much this whole entire power system halfway apart. So what I'm doing now is everything has been taken out. All the batteries have been fully charged, topped off, and now we are just reassembling everything and doing some cable management. So if you guys want to, hang out with me today, do some cable management, and if you're bored and you're just on Instagram, won't even have some entertainment. But yeah, and if you guys have any questions, put those in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them. This is also streaming on my YouTube channel, which is Van Builder HQ on YouTube. So just type in Van Builder HQ, and you'll get a nice 4K, better sounding experience here. But yeah, we're gonna get started. We're gonna be cutting, crimping, organizing a bunch of cables and stuff like that. And yeah, having a good time with electronics. Okay, so I'm gonna hop back over to the YouTube guys that are watching right now. So what we're doing is we're gonna go ahead and cut this wire. So in the last live stream, we went through and talked about topping off all these batteries. So that got checked off. We went through and did the identification of all these wires. So if you missed that live stream, we went through this whole entire schematic here on where the power is coming from and where it needs to terminate with the box. So that's all checked off. So that's what all these wires are in this one. We also talked about cutting a hole in the top panel here so that we could have this wire feed through the top and just be nice and neat. So we did that yesterday. We epoxied a little desk grommet at the end, and that's set up overnight. It's ready to go. So when we get done with this, we can actually cover it up. This right here is the terminal fuse bolt that we've been kind of waiting on the last couple of days. It's a very special thread pitch. It's an M8 by 1.0 by 25 millimeters in length, and finally came in. We got to make sure it's stainless so we don't have any weird corrosion happening here. If you use dissimilar metals like zinc plated and stainless, there's something called galvanic corrosion, and it basically corrodes it. It's kind of like your car battery type of thing in your car if you don't take care of it. So we don't want any corrosion in here. It's very unlikely because it's inside the van, but yeah, this much power and current, we don't want anything like that happening. So what I did earlier before the video is I've got two marks here, and the first thing we're going to do is put this terminal, this battery lug on here so that we can connect it to this 300 amp terminal fuse right here. So we've got two of these. So this one right here is the original one that we had. This is bringing in solar and DC to DC charging. So DC to DC charging is basically the alternator power going into a box and being converted to a charge profile for lithium batteries. And that's why you got to make sure that you have the right profile set if you have a DC to DC charger. So this one we've got set to lithium. So all the solar and the alternator charging is coming into here, as well as this big box over here that you can't really see. This is our inverter charger. And so what that does, the inverter charger is converting the battery power, 12 volts, into 110 volts, so household power. And then there's a plug on the outside of the van. It's called shore power. So that shore power plug is what you would plug into your house. And this big box would convert your house power into a 12 volt charging profile for the batteries. It's not 12 volts, it's more like 14 volts, something like that. But when you set it in the inverter, it takes care of all this. Who else is on here? Trying to wave hi to everybody. But yeah, everybody that's on Instagram, let me know your thoughts about this kind of setup here with the live stream. Works really well for YouTube. We're also streaming from YouTube live right now at VanBuilderHQ. Yeah, so that's kind of how all the power gets into this terminal. This one is our new one. So this is the one that's going to bring our power in from the alternator. And it doesn't really matter where it kind of comes in. We just want to make sure that these wires are sized appropriately for that current to be evenly displaced over the batteries. That's pretty much what you want to do. So 4/0 is what we're using because it's going to be the safe size to take in all that current. This terminal has, we're only putting in about 100 amps max right here charging. This one's going to be 280 amps max. But they're not going to be combined at any time. Both of the boxes will see the voltage of the batteries, so that's what all these other cables are doing, and it's going to make sure that it doesn't get overcharged or undercharged when it does its whole thing. So the first thing we're going to do is connect the alternator, which is this cable, to the battery system itself. So I've already made some markings. This is where I'm going to cut the cable, and this is where I'm going to strip the cable to get the lug on there. We talked about this in the other live streams, and this is the best tool that you want to use. So this is kind of like a shear cutter. It's the way that it grabs the cable and cuts it, makes a flush cut on the cable. And you got to have that because if the wire frays, you're not going to be able to fit it into this lug, and it's going to not make a good connection, but it's also going to be a pain in the butt to do anything with it. Now, this is kind of intense because this negative cable, once I cut it, I've cut it. So that solid run from the alternator all the way into the power system is you get kind of one chance to get that length right. So I'm making sure I'm giving myself some extra room in case something happens with the crimp on the terminal. I've got about 8 inches or so to play around with. So think about that when you're putting this together. But yeah, we're going to come over here to our 3 dots. Get that nice and even. Then we want to make sure we make a nice straight cut. And see, it just makes a perfectly clean flat cut. So next we're going to go get our pair of cable strippers. They're not like your typical cable strippers. It's like a ring. It's almost like a pipe cutter, but it's designed to take this off. But as I'm getting that, I'm finally going to take out all this because it's time to go. All right, this is the next piece of kit here. This is called a Jonard CST-1900. This thing is badass. So this is basically what it's doing is it's got a little razor in here, and you can change the height of it, and then you can put it on the cable, wrap it around, and it's only going to cut off the outer rubber. It's not going to, or the shielding. It won't cut into the cable. Well, I guess it depends on if you mess up or not. But but what you can do is you can just dial it in. So we're just going to do a couple of turns here, and we're going to pop it off, and we're going to see if we got deep enough. So we'll see if we're going to split it. So now we got to go a little bit deeper. Just dial it back. The number one thing you want to do is you don't want to, these copper wires, the individual strands, you don't want to shave them off and have like a little pile, because that's adding to the resistance of the cable, and you're taking it away from what it was sized for. And when you have this much amperage, you don't want to do that. So see right here, we're about to break this off. And now I just kind of go back and forth. And see, when I pull it off, no wires got frayed. And so this is a nice clean connection. So you see when we take our terminal and put it on here, it's nice and neat. One thing you want to do, this is like a little pro tip if you're a little OCD, but also it does help you with the install, is the orientation of the terminal. Don't put it upside down. These wires don't really move too easy because they're so chunky. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you get them in kind of an orientation that's comfortable for the wire, and then take the terminal, put it on, and then act like you're going to connect it. Then what you want to do is you want to take a permanent marker, and then what I do is I just put a little reference mark on the top of the copper and the top of the cable. So when I go to crimp it, I want to hold this position and make sure both of these dots line up. So see, now I can take this back out, get it to a place where I can work with it. And you see, since I measured it, I know how much, I anticipated how much is going to crush into this part right here, and then where this is going to seal. So see, I've got a nice tight fit. You want to make sure that extra cable goes into this part. You don't want to cut it too short. Again, it's just high current applications, you need to be a little bit more wary, because that's the dangerous stuff in vans. That's where some people mess up. So what we're using here, this is a hydraulic crimper. And again, for this high current stuff, this is what you want to use. You don't want to use an anvil style crimper. An anvil crimper is one that you basically slam with a hammer and it crimps it. And you want something a little bit more professional. But this is just from Amazon, you know, this hydraulic crimper. Okay, we're just getting our terminal set. And once we get it even, what we're going to do is we're going to go for it. I'm just going to crimp it. And then what I do is just leave it for a couple seconds. Hit it one more time. Then you just take the pressure off. And that's your crimp. Then you just want to come through here and make sure it's nice and solid. So next step, we've got our heat shrink. Now the heat shrink that I like to use, this is, let's see. The heat shrink that I like to use is, it has a sealant inside. Some do not come with a sealant. You want to use one that has a sealant. So this one has the sealant. I definitely use this underneath the van, but if you're going to buy a big roll of this, just get the one that has a sealant that melts out when you heat it. And then also what we want to do is see where this line is. We want to make sure that when we put our lug on here, we want to heat shrink everything except the surface that actually comes in contact with the terminal fuse. So we'll just put this on here. And you can just kind of rub it back and forth. And it's going to make a little mark. And that mark is where the metal contacts. And you want to put the heat shrink just behind it, because you want to cover as much as the wire as possible, just to make sure you don't have anything exposed. It's a lot of juice when this thing's charging, so yeah. Yeah, it's kind of up to you how far you want to go back with it. But for this type of lug, this is kind of what I'm working with. You also don't want to use a battery-powered heat gun. You want to have a wired one. This is just a cheap one from Harbor Freight, and I've used it for like 3 vans. Works really well. All right. And I'm just double checking where I have this, and I'm actually gonna move this heat shrink back. So we're actually gonna do it right there. Now it's gonna take a while to do this, because what happens is the copper is gonna absorb that heat, and the more copper you have, the more heat you need to put into it to get the heat shrink to do its thing. And you want to heat it until that adhesive starts kind of oozing out. All right. And it's going to be crazy hot, so don't grab it. So we'll let that cool down just for a second. And we'll start to think about the rest of the stuff here. I have the whole power system disconnected with a shutoff switch in the back, so I'm not worried about this arcing to this. But for you, make sure you don't have anything connected to this. It'll be a big spark that will not be good. So while that's cooling down, we're going to go ahead and pull our negative. Let's see, we got, no, this is our CAN bus. So next I'm just kind of lining up these other cables. So these batteries that we have, they're also networked to a display screen up front. So we're just going to take those and start plugging them in. Another reason we took the batteries out is because we needed to fix some of those connections. I've got these positive terminals loose, and since I do, some of these need to be moved a little bit out of the way to get these network cables in, so I'm just doing that right now. Now, depending on how the system updates, sometimes it likes to have each one of these individually plugged in one at a time to recognize the battery and kind of save them. So I'm going to try to just do it all at once because it did work the last time. But sometimes when you're setting stuff up after you've reset it, it can do kind of some weird things. But anyway, we got all these daisy chained. And then we have our main network connection, which is right here. So this one, just going to plug it in right there. I'm probably going to zip tie it here. Yeah, we've got so many cables going into here, so the sooner the better we start zip tying everything in, the easier this is going to, or the nicer it's going to look. The goal today is to get this finished and then move on to the plumbing on the other side, because we also got in a couple of our carbide tipped drill bits that they're not hard to find. They're just, well, I guess they are hard to find, because like a 17/32 carbide tipped or solid carbide, they're very expensive drill bits, and they're in stock, but there's nothing you can get from like Amazon. You have to go to a specialty like bolt and tool store. All right, so now we can connect this. And we're actually going to come around like that. Yeah, so we're just going to hand tighten this, because I don't know if I actually have to move it. Yeah, I'm just going to keep on going. Oh man, I'm neglecting the live stream questions. All right. Good, I needed like a little mental break here. Step Van Dan. I wish I had help with my wiring. I feel you. So yeah, if you have any questions on some other wiring you might be doing, feel free to ask me. Hey Rob, thanks for joining on the chat. Yeah, let me quickly go over these tools real quick that I'm working on, or working with. These are the 4 tools that I recommend for every crimping application here on a van. The main one is this hydraulic crimper. So this is YQK-120. Then the HD cable cutter. This one is TH0001. Then we've got 2 more here. One is that Jonard Tools CST 1900. And then finally, for the smaller insulating stuff, it's just a Cobalt cutter crimper. Yeah, these things are must-haves for this van stuff. Question, do you need a fuse or some sort of master shutoff switch? Yes, absolutely. You got to have a master shutoff switch, and you need a fuse. The fuse protects the wire. So forget about the disconnect. The fuse is there to protect the wire from if it has overcurrent, because something shorts or something like that. The on-off switch is not going to do that. The on-off switch is there so when you do maintenance and you need to turn the system off for storage or need to work on something, you get that physical disconnect without actually having to unbolt anything. So Rod asked, will 15 feet of red and black 4-aught wire, total 30 feet, be enough for the main, ground, and battery connections? So let me measure. I'll tell you how far the alternator cable was that I just ran. So we had 25 feet. I bought 25. Maybe about 27.5. Let's see here. This is, okay, so 13 feet. Let's see here. Let's see how much I bought, and then I'll subtract 13 from it. If you guys on Instagram wonder where I went, I'm on the live stream rig over here on YouTube. So I'm also streaming on YouTube, Van Builder HQ. So they got a bunch of questions and I'm answering them. Let's see. I bought 37 feet. So 7, 6, 5, 4, 24, wait, 37. Yeah, 24 feet. So it took me 24 feet to get from the alternator to where I needed to get to in the power system. So I'm glad that I ordered 37 feet. I know it's expensive, but the worst thing is to not have enough cable. Plus, you can use the part you cut off for the battery connections. So you're not really wasting anything. So Rod asked, well, 15 feet. Oh yeah, I already answered that. 2 Batterborn GC3. Oh, those game changers are cool. Those are cool batteries. Oh, hey, Brian. Yeah. Welcome to the live stream. Checking out your van. Yeah, today, so Brian, today is going to be exciting because I can finally turn the system back on, crank up the engine, and we'll actually be able to test this wake speed regulator for the first time. But yeah, it has been it's been fun getting all the wires and everything nice and neat. So today's just polishing everything off, getting the cable management finished in the power system, and yeah, then moving on to the right side with the plumbing. Question, is 2-aught wire fine for a 12-volt system? So any wire is good for a 12-volt system. Here is where you, here, I'll pull up this chart real quick. The 1-aught, 2-aught, 3-aught, 4-aught, 8 gauge, all that good stuff, 6 gauge is all dependent on your application and how much current you need to transfer. It comes down to a current thing. Let's see, Blue Sea Systems, amp chart. Okay, I'm going to drop this chart into the comments, this link. It's from Blue Sea Systems. I really enjoy all their products. So every van that I do, pretty much everything in there is Blue Sea Systems. Oh yeah, Brian, don't feel bad taking apart all this stuff. It's all about doing it the right way. So there's a right way to do it, and when you do it the right way, it's less stress. So you don't have to worry about things not being where they have to be. So instead of half doing it, you're doing it the right way. So yeah, don't worry about that at all. This is the right way to do it. Okay. So that link that I just put in there, that is this right here. So choosing the correct wire size for a DC circuit, go in that link. This is the chart you want to start getting yourself familiar with, especially if you're a DIYer. the two things. You have the current up here at the top. So this current right here, this is this current up here is hold on a second. I'm gonna let's see here. I'm gonna end the Instagram live stream. Thanks guys for watching. If you want to follow me on the live stream for YouTube, it's on Van Builder HQ YouTube. Just go to YouTube, type in Van Builder HQ. I'm live streaming there, and I'm going to end this one because I'm on the computer right now. But yeah, thanks guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so this chart, we've got 5 amp, 10 amp, 15, 20, all the way up to 200. This is the current that's coming through your wires. Say you have a 30 amp DC to DC charger. You just take it, this number, go down this, and match it up with your feet. So the feet is how many feet away from the source of power to where you're getting the power from. So for example, from the alternator to the box in the back of your van. So this is kind of what Rod was talking about, you know, how many feet. So let's just use Rod's example. He had 15 feet. So 15 feet right here. At 15 feet, we want to come over, and if we got a 30 amp DC to DC charger, it says that we need 8 gauge wire. Okay? Now me, as a professional that builds vans for customers, so other than myself, I want to step that up like an additional safety factor. Why? Because I'm not sure if my customer is going to add more power to something that I don't know, and I just want to give them a little bit more headroom because it doesn't really cost anything. So going from an 8 gauge to a 6 gauge wire, it's not a big deal. It might be like 20 bucks. So 15 feet, 8 gauge, but see how we're kind of close to 20? So let's go ahead, we'll go ahead and bump it up to the 20 foot rating, and we're going to go with a 6 gauge. So if you notice, this 6 gauge, this brings us also into a safer territory of being able to withstand 40 amps. And up here at 15 feet. So size your wire and then just go up 1 in size. Because if you ever want to add to that circuit in the future, if you limit yourself on the wire size, you're going to, you'll have to rerun a new wire in the future because you've maxed out that wire. For example, so this is Robin and Brian's van, and for their van, for example, when I was pulling the wire from the alternator to the power system, technically the recommendations from Nation says if you're under 20 feet, you can go with a 2-aught wire, and then if you're over that, you can go with a 4-aught. Even though that was their recommendation, I always go higher because, well, number one, I'm not sure why they actually referenced 2-aught, because 2-aught, the size of the second alternator is 280 amps. And so if we go over here to 200 amps, you see how 2-aught goes to 20 feet? So technically, it'll work, but it's at its limit. And I don't like to have anything that's at a limit. So since we did 25 feet, technically we need a 3-aught cable from the alternator. But again, like I said, I go up 1 more and get into the 4-aught range so that I can just make sure I don't have any issue. It's weird though, if you don't use this chart appropriately, you can have nuisance faults. So for example, 12-volt refrigerators seem to do this a lot in my experience, where If you don't oversize the wire, that initial startup surge of current sometimes will give it a fault. So Thomas's van, for example, if his batteries go below 30%, the Vitrofrigo fridge, it doesn't stop working. It just says, hey, I don't like the power that I'm getting, and it just throws an error code. As soon as the batteries charge up, it goes away. But if you're someone that doesn't know anything about electronics, which you don't have to if you own a van, and you have an error code, it can be stressful dealing with something you don't know what's wrong in the van. So this is why wire sizing is so important. You get rid of nuisance faults, you keep your van nice and safe. And then going back to Step Van Dan's question is, well, no, who was that? My fellow Netbeards, he was asking about fuses. You got to fuse all these wires. So there's also a chart for fusing your wires. So let me pull that one up. Let's see here. You could actually go to Explorus.life. He's a YouTuber, and he has, if you go to his page, he's got right up here under resources, calculators, fuse sizing calculator. So he has this right here. It's a fuse size calculator. So for example, that same thing that we did, 30 amps, and we want to go with a, here we go. I'm going to do 280 amps. So this is Brian and Robin's alternator, 280 amps, and then we're going to go with our 4-aught. Let's see what it recommends that we have for the minimum fuse size at 12 volts. So come down here. 280 amps is the minimum fuse size. I have a 300 amp fuse in there. Now this will be interesting to see. I do not anticipate that fuse blowing because we're so close, 280 to 300, and I'll explain why. These ads. We're probably never, Brian and Raman will never see 280 amps of full charging because they now have 3 charging systems in their van. They have 2 Renogy combo units that are DC to DC MPPT controllers. So they got 2 of those, 50 amps each. And then they have the Nation's second alternator, 280 amps max. But because the systems monitor the voltage to apply the correct charging profile, they're going to throttle that down. So we might have 100 amps from the DC to DC chargers, and we might have like 100 or 120 amps from the second alternator. And it depends on the battery state of charge, the battery voltage, and so it's all going to kind of float around and figure out where it's going to be. But it's not going to be like open up a dump valve and say, boom, here's 280 amps. Now, maybe if their battery's at 0 volts, which that's very rarely going to happen with the solar and then driving. And if the batteries, you never want to get lithium batteries below 10% discharge. So long story short, a 300 amp fuse is going to be very hard to actually hit and blow that fuse. But it's better to blow a fuse than to stress the wire. That's why, again, watch this. I'm going to change this to 2-aught. Let's see here. So his calculator doesn't change, and I guess that is not taken into account the length. And what I would do is, this is a good recommendation. It's better to undersize a fuse than oversize a fuse. If you oversize a fuse, you might actually damage the component before the wire can actually blow the fuse. So consider that. Okay, let's get back to some questions. Cool. We got all the questions answered. All right, let's get back to the van cam. All right. So next, so we got this. Let's go ahead and, yeah, let's just continue with the cable management here. Also for Brian and Robin, well, I like making these videos because, I mean, we can just go back in time. We can scrub through the video, double check, you know, how everything works. So this is really going to show you, you know, if you guys are way far away, out west, maybe up in Canada, wherever you guys go, you really can understand, you know, how all this is put together. All right, so over here we've got two components here. This is our 12-volt sense cables for our Renogy system. So this is just extra cable for that 12-volt sense, and we're just gonna lay that down right here behind this system. This is our Victron shunt. This is also our Bluetooth battery monitor, and this is going to this is actually connected to the to the wake speed. The reason it's connected to the wake speed is because there's two terminals on the shunt that they're like the little baby screws, and those two tiny screws are what we're using to sense the current sense high and current sense low. And so if you guys were wondering, current sense low is number 2 on this schematic. Current sense high is 3. All right, so next we got this negative cable. And before I connect those, I need to go grab that pre-charge resistor. Okay, so now we're just kind of coming through. Yeah, and this is just really just organizing at this point. I don't think there's anything I need to connect that I haven't told you guys about. And just let you guys know, full transparency, I do have the, let's see here, where is this wire coming from? Is that gonna fit? Might have to fit. I have to change this. I do have 3 of the voltage sense wires for the Dometic. And these 2 boxes, the 12-volt senses, they are connected together under one fuse. It's a 2-amp fuse. And it's just voltage sense. It's not doing anything. It's not pulling any current. So we're not really worried about any type of like shorting or anything like that. It's basically there just to say, hey, here's the voltage signal. That's it. Yeah, just really, really simple. The small wires, the small ones are the kind of annoying ones because you don't really want to cut into them and splice them because it kind of messes with their connection. So if you don't have to do that, that would be good. Let's see here. Okay, so all these negatives I need to connect over here. And because I've added so much wire, we actually may have to strip this back. Yeah, anytime you're doing that, just for, double check that you haven't nipped a wire or anything like that. Let's see, we're getting close. Okay, perfect. There we go. So I like all these little wires to look neater in here, but it's just kind of comes with the territory. All these little signal sense wires, different manufacturers are all different sizes. So we're just going to clean them up as best we can. Okay, so here's all of our grounds. Excellent. Okay. So there we go. We got these labeled. These are our ground wires. So we've got our red LED light that goes right here. So that's kind of just for looks, just a nice cool light for them. And we've got our 12-volt sense for the Dometic. Both of our Renogy 12-volt sense wires. The label is down in there. And then we got our 12-volt sense for the, or 12-volt power actually, that supplies a little Bluetooth monitor for the shunt. So that's what all of these cables are. And so what I'm going to do here, let's see if I can. I'm going to come back to right there and put a zip tie right here. Okay, so see, got all these nice and neat. These are our basically sense communication wires. They go to this little block right here, and so they're fused. So we've got a 5 amp fuse for this red LED because believe it or not, this LED actually is pretty bright and strong, so it does use a bit of current. The one back here for the, where is that going? The 15 amp is for our AC, Blue Sea Systems 120 volt AC power. That is the circuit board power and the backlight for the breaker switch essentially. And then 2 is the rest of these wires, just 2 amps. That is for the voltage sense, just so the little circuit boards can actually say, hey, this is how much voltage is coming through. It's not really doing any work. It's just looking for a voltage. The last one that's open, we do not want to connect that one. That one is the one that powers the wake speed, and we need to button everything up before we actually turn that on. So in the future, Brian and Robin, if you want to disconnect that alternator, or it does blow and the alternator is not charging, that is the fuse. So it's number 4, and I actually have right here, I'll neaten these up later, but these are your labels for the fuses. Okay, this right here is going to mount to this plate right here. So this is a terminal fuse plate. It's not a terminal fuse like this one. This one is for negative, and this is all Blue Sea system stuff. So 4 fuses, the negative plate. So we're going to go ahead and connect that right now. Let's see. Yeah, hopefully that advertisement wasn't running the whole time. Just realized that. I'm just going to shut this all down. There we go. All right, let's keep going. And I've moved a screwdriver. So eventually what I'm doing right now is going to be connected to the ground of the first battery terminal. I've got 2 here that are a little oversized. And I'm just using a little washer to make sure they fit. And be careful when you're working around here. If I was to drop a screw, it would be really bad. It'll take forever to get this that screw out. So I just take extra precaution to not mess with that. Okay. Okay, we got 2, and we just got 2 more. Now you can use this for any other additional grounding that you want for small appliances. Say you wanted to put an additional USB port or something like that back here. You always need to fuse it, but as far as where your ground connection goes, you know, this would be a good spot. But if I really had to tell you where to put it, it would be in a sub panel like I have under Brian and Robin's kitchen galley. So that sub panel it's the appropriate way to actually fuse something from a different area. You don't want to drag wires all over the van. You kind of want to have like this right here. This is dedicated space. Underneath the kitchen galley is a dedicated space. And not only that, the sub panel fuse is 100 amp fuse is right here. So all the stuff in the kitchen galley is fused, but the kitchen galley sub panel itself is also fused. And that's the appropriate way to do it. Because you're not, with this fuse, you're not protecting the appliances, you're protecting the wire. You want to make sure the wire does not, you know, catch on fire. That's not catch on fire, but potentially cause one because it starts to melt and it never gets broken. That's what happens in people's vans is they don't fuse these wires. They fuse the refrigerator at the box, but they don't fuse the wire. But the wire is what needs to break the circuit. Not only the fuse, the wire. Okay, so here's this. So we're going to connect that here in just a minute. Let's go ahead and knock down our other wires. All right, so we've got all these nice and connected. So now let's begin the process of bringing these guys in. Hold on, Noah. It's just some thunder. All right, guys, this right here is important. This is a pre-charge resistor. These batteries have not been connected to the system. The system has been depleted. There's capacitors and stuff like that in here, so to not have that big spark that happens when you see battery turbos connect, we're going to use this pre-charge resistor. This is a 30 ohm, 25 watt 30 ohm resistor. And we're just going to, let's see, I'm going to do it for this first cable first. Now we only need it when we're making a connection from the outer system to the batteries. So we can go ahead and put our negative terminals on here, but then we'll come back and redo them. All right, let's see here. And if you're wondering why all these cables look weird because they look like they're too long, your longest length of any battery connection, since we have this orientation this way and these batteries are this way, the longest length needs to be replicated throughout the whole thing. You want an even connection from every battery terminal. If you can do it, I mean, it's not technically critical, but I see it as the right way to do it. So if I can do things the right way, I do them the right way. Okay. Okay. Now that we got these cables in here, I'm going to be very careful that we don't slip and arc something as we're putting this stuff in here. Okay, so I might have to redo this. Let's see here. I think I'm going to have to reroute this cable. Yep, definitely takes a little bit of finessing to get this all back to where it works. So, yeah, I think I'm going to have to take those zip ties off. Now, if this is your personal van build, you don't have to do this. I do this because, to me, this is a professional way to do it. I want everything nice and neat. Okay, so if we have this here, now let's see, can we move? Yep, there you go. All right, that'll work. You might also notice I don't have Klein tools for electrical stuff, but I have my normal screwdriver wrapped with electrical tape, just to, again, prevent arcing. I mean, the whole system's powered off, but I don't know. Don't take chances. All right, now we got to find out where we put the rest of the screws at. Kind of keeping these loose. We want to make sure we're not going too tight with them right now until we do a final crimp. Okay, we should. Okay. And this last one, this is the one that we will touch with our pre-charge resistor. Now the pre-charge resistor is going between the negative battery terminal and the ground, chassis ground battery cable. So you have to touch it between the cables. Almost acted like it's like a fuse. That's kind of what you're treating it as. These are good. Let's go ahead and cinch these down. Okay, and by tightening it down, it should allow this to not move. Okay, you also might be asking, why is this negative cable so long? Again, just like we matched this length, this is the length of our positive disconnect cable. So we have a cable running to the back of the van, disconnect, and then we have a cable running all the way to the Victron links distributor. Again, we want to match that if we can. All right, so let's get our resistor. And we're just going to touch it. Nothing's going to happen, but so we're just going to touch it for a couple seconds, and okay, so that should be good. So now I'll just take this off. No spark. Again, that's another pro tip is, you know, why is this going all the way to the back battery? Well, again, same length, but also by doing positive here on the first and negative on the last, the theory is it's a better flow of electricity and more even charging. Okay, then last but not least, we're going to use that resistor over here on our negative. The other thing I'd say is, you know, make sure that you didn't goof and trying to put a battery in backwards. That would not be good, but I know it might be possible. Okay, I think, just double check the connections here. I think the only one we don't have, okay, these are all connected now, so there's more likelihood of arcing, so just be careful. Okay, that looks good. Next, let's put some zip ties on here. Make sure we don't forget that. Okay, heck yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is our wires coming back to this cable. All right, so I did forget this wire. I need to make sure I got this orientation right. This is the battery temperature sensor for the wake speed. Okay. Battery temp sensor. Excellent. Getting closer to the final cable management here. All right, looks like we've got a question. I'm also going to redo the camera angle here. Oh yeah, so I did heat those cables up before I got them into their final position, if you're wondering. And so when they cooled, they kind of stayed in that position. All right, give me a second, guys. I'm updating some Instagram stuff here. Okay, let's see if I can redo this camera here. They're not Timco brand wires, they're Windy Nation. So Windy Nation is the company that I get them from, and I don't actually know who they get them from. But I've been using them for all the van builds, including my own. Okay. There we go. All right, where was I? Getting distracted here. Camera, questions. Let's get back in the van. And then we'll finish this up, and then I'll do a little lunch break. Okay. Yeah, right now, just cleaning this up. So I don't want to zip tie my network cables because, again, sometimes when I reset the Renogy, I need to individually unplug these individually to make the system happy. So we're just going to keep those right where they need to be. And I'm going to come straight down the middle with this part right here. Okay, so we're just going to nest, just going to start nesting all this stuff together. The other reason you want to do this is rattles. Anything you can do to prevent rattles, whether that's like this felt tape that I use it everywhere in the van. The felt tape really helps to take down vibrations. Now, I'll hop back over here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, let's see, let's get that wire loom. I've got some wire loom so that this looks nice and neat on the outside of the, where the hole, I got a new hole that I cut. We're using 3/4 inch braided wire loom from Dorman. This is the nicer, this is a, it's not more protective, but it's more visually pleasing in my opinion than the heavy duty stuff that we use underneath the van. But this is going to cover up all this stuff that Robin and Brian are going to be able to see. That it's not important that it's seen, so it needs to be nice. So this is only for visual purposes, that's all. Then we're just going to hit this with some electrical tape. Use the expensive electrical tape, like the Scotch Super 33. Don't use the cheap stuff because whatever adhesive they use on it, man, it is a pain in the butt to work with if you have to undo the cable and then redo it. Again, that's just my opinion. Okay, so see there, so into this, we're going to have this come, let's see, so this will come, let's see here. This box is going to be here, and we need this to come plug in. Bingo. Try to see how far we can go with this till the wires start to break out. Which is about right here. Something like this. Come back here and get some zip ties on this so it doesn't go all over the place. So that should give us a nice bend right there. Then one more. Let's see here. Let's do right there. We'll leave this because I'm not sure what that's going to do yet. This should be enough to get into my box from the lid. I've already pre-measured all this stuff. So those scissors are not doing good. Okay. Okay, so there's my outlet. So that's going to be right there. So I'm going to go ahead and locate this right here. Ah, right there. See, we gotta be careful. This one is, come back just a little bit. Yeah, out of all the length they gave us on the wake speed, they actually made this for van installs. So they gave a lot of extra leeway in how long this cable is, but for some reason, the gray and purple for the shunt, that one wasn't taken into consideration. That one needs at least 2 to 3 feet. So I don't think I'm going to call them and tell them that if they're watching this video. See, that's why I had to mount this box here, is because the box has to go here because the purple and gray for the shunt is over here. And there's not enough room for this to actually, I wanted it to mount up here, but it's going to have to be on top of this lid. So that's okay. So this one will actually unplug. Go underneath here, get that back where it needs to go. So that will sit here. Okay. I'm trying to keep mindful of the network connections that I may or may not have to change or unplug. It's starting to look good. It's starting to look neater. This one in the white cable. These are not used. just kind of some additional electrical tape on this. So this one right here is the, hold on a second, that's not what I wanted to do. This white wire is not used. It's the, I think it's the tachometer input for the engine RPM. It's not necessary on this application, but again, these harnesses, they use them for other stuff. This is not, even though it's a van-specific harness, there's other companies, people, there's other applications that this is used for. So it's not completely just only dedicated to vans. Okay, so this one, I'm going to do this right here. Got to keep in mind our lid that goes on top of here. So, all right, looking good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and cut this off right here. Don't cut any wires. All right, we got a question. Give me 1 second. I'll hop on the computer. Okay. All right, take a little break. All right, it's TC. Hey Nick, I have a question about mounting electrical and water cabinets. Did you mount those cabinets to both the side using factory mounting bolts and the bottom sheet metal bolts? Yes, so actually this van has the Adventure Wagon system, and I'll show you what I use. So I got L-track, and throughout the van, I buy these things in 1-inch and 2-inch variants. There's little L-track studs. See if I can find an example. So you can buy these. So imagine you have a piece of L-track. This goes into the L-track, locks in, and then you have a stud. And then the cabinet that you have can go through this like that. And then all you do is just take a nut, and then you can bolt like your cabinet to the wall of whatever you're trying to do. So something like that. So this is how everything's secured in their van. The overhead cabinets, the refrigerator, everything. The bed, it's all using these little lock-in L-track studs, and they're all grade 8. So I think I got these from US Cargo Control. Also for the electrical cabinets, how did you secure the batteries to ensure they won't fly out in case of a collision? So a couple things in the batteries. If we go here, these two things are obviously covering the batteries from the top. They're also holding the batteries on the bottom. The side panel actually holds the panels in on the side. And then this battery that's in a different orientation, it has a backer plate right here that uses a 90 degree 80-20 bracket like that, and you can adjust this to compress the batteries in so they don't move. And then the back just is the 80-20 rails holding it in. But you can use this bracket to kind of move back and forth in the 80-20 to clamp your batteries into place. Because this is such a low profile battery system here, I don't have a strap holding anything down. It's just not necessary. The batteries don't move at all. Once the cables are on and it's in here, they don't move. It's almost impossible to take the batteries out, even with the side off. So now other vans like Thomas's where there's more headroom, I did strap that down just as a backup, but the 80-20 cage is really what's holding the batteries in. If that sounds good. All right, guys. I will come back. I'm going to show you really quick the lid that's going on here that I modified, and I'm starving right now. I got to get some food. But this is the lid, or the top cover, that's going to cover the whole system. You've seen it before. This right here is the ventilation port for the inverter. We've got an on and off switch right here. This is for the red light, and then this is the new addition to the back. So this is going to actually have this little decorative cap, and if you see here, this is just it is just from a desk. I got this at Lowe's. I epoxied it in, but this is where that cable is going to come out, and then we're going to mount our wake speed regulator just like that, nice and neat. And we got the cable comes out and plugs in, and that'll be our final setup. So I'll finish that up this afternoon. But make sure you guys definitely don't forget to go to Van Builder. Make sure you guys head on over to vanbuilderhq.com, click on course. I've got a new DIY camper van course coming out October 1st. It's called Camper Van Conversion Blueprint. You guys can pre-order, purchase it today, save some money before it launches October 1st. A little video over here showing about everything that's included in the course. And just a brief overview. This is the couple things we'll be talking about. Getting started with your van, choosing your van, design and layout, off-grid power system design, fresh and gray water storage, insulation, sound dampening, exterior upgrades like the roof rack, solar, rooftop air conditioning, max fan ventilation, finalizing your build. And one thing that's really exciting is the access to our private online community. It's a forum, a bunch of questions will be on there. Also, we're going to be having not only that, questions from YouTube, questions from past customers and stuff like that I've done consultations with. That'll be in there. I'll be in there answering questions, and you'll get access to that. But you guys can pre-order and save today. You can click this link, go ahead and purchase it. You'll save some money before it launches on October 1st when the price goes up, and excited for you guys to check it out. So TC also said, I'm not using L-Track system. What would you recommend for bolting those cabinets? I'm using EcoFlow system, by the way. So what I would recommend if you don't have L-Track is I would use I conveniently have a whole bag here. Riv nuts. So rivet nuts, basically what you do is you just drill a hole into your van, into the sheet metal, obviously not where the windows and stuff go. But what you do is you take this and you take something called a rivet nut gun. I'm trying to find out where I laid mine down at. Here we go. So you take this, you put it on the end of a drill, and this thing is going to compress this little rivet nut, plus nut. There's all kinds of different names. That's what it looks like. But it's threaded on the inside. So once this crimps into your sheet metal, then you can take a bolt and you can, so imagine this is your sheet metal wall. So you put the rivet, you drill a hole, appropriate size, you put it in there. You take your riv nut gun, you squish this rivet, and then you can put your bolt in, and then you can do whatever you want. You can, for example, if this was your bracket, you can put the bolt in. You can put this in. So anywhere that I didn't have L-track, this is the method that I used. And you may be able to go in some past live streams that I worked on and see that. The Adventure Wagon install video, that's an old video, but there should be footage in there where I'm using this to install the Adventure Wagon. So this is the name of this tool. XL rivet nut drill adapter. The kit comes with a bunch of different sizes that you can use. I said I'm getting lunch. It's 4:54. Dinner, getting dinner. Yeah, so yeah, hope that helps out. Also, don't forget to check out, besides purchasing the course, I'd really appreciate that if you go to free cheat sheet. In the meantime, you can pick up the DIY van build cheat sheet. It's free. It's basically an Excel sheet of the last 3 years of all my purchases coming to the shop. It's over 250 items. They're curated, they're organized from electrical components, water components, fuses, breakers, wire, Renji components, stuff like that. It's all in one. It's going to be updated, throughout the year. We got one big update that we're waiting to do for it. But in the meantime, before the course comes out, you can put your name and email address, have it delivered directly to your inbox, and it'll definitely help you out with putting together your DIY van. As far as TC goes, I don't know, TC, if I have those US cargo control components on there, or the riv nut drill adapter might be on that list. So TC, if you don't already have this, go ahead and download it. It's free, 100% free. And that stuff should be on there, those tools that I talked about. Oh yeah, tools are on that list as well, tools that I use. Oh yeah, the rivet nut wrench. Yeah. The rivet nut wrench is a pain in the butt. I feel you. Yeah, the drill adapter. You got to be careful with the drill adapter because you can strip the threads of the rivet nut. So just practice before you do it. It's more like an audible thing. You got to kind of hear it squish, and then stop, and then back the nut out before you strip it. But yeah, I've definitely. I feel for that for you, Rod. So TC said, I've been considering this tool and the pneumatic rivet. So the pneumatic one, that one is the one that Adventure Wagon, they use in their shop. Because what you can do is they do it for production. So they set it to a number. They do hundreds of riv nuts. So they have a pressure that they set it for so that everything is very repeatable. For you doing DIY, if you're doing different thicknesses of metal throughout the van, I would recommend that maybe just get the drill one versus the air pneumatic one. But if you have a pneumatic compressor and system and you have the budget for the pneumatic one, you can use it. Just make sure that you have a kit that has multiple sizes. You're going to need multiple sizes throughout your van build. Also, you may need to invest in a, what is the word called? This drill bit. Carbide tip drill bit, because the top of the van is something called boron steel. It's almost impossible to drill through. You have to have a carbide tip drill bit minimum. And the bottom of the van, same thing, carbide tip drill bit, like for your water tanks and stuff like that. So consider that, because if you start to drill in your van and the drill is not going anywhere, that you're hitting that special metal that they put into vans for structural purposes, for safety. It's not the same as the regular sheet metal around 80% of the van. There's like 20% that's a special super hardened metal, and it's a pain in the butt. I'm actually going to be drilling in it today to put the other water tank brackets on, but I know better now, so I buy these carbide tip drill bits. They are expensive. This one bit is like $70, but it's the right tool for the job. Yeah, but awesome, guys. Thanks so much for the questions. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, like this video, share it to anybody that's doing electrical or wants to have some answers to these questions. Definitely hit that notification bell. I go live randomly throughout the week, and I don't want you guys to miss an episode, miss an opportunity to ask me some questions on the live stream. So yeah, hit that notification bell. I'm gonna grab some food, and yeah, we'll definitely do a live stream tomorrow. This will be all wrapped up, and then we'll move on to the plumbing system, which I'm actually really excited about, because it's a new system, tank, stuff that I haven't used before. And what I'm really excited about is I'm actually able to store a toilet underneath the sink. I'm bypassing the drain line and moving it to under the drawers and microwave. So I'm looking forward to seeing how all that I've planned out is actually going to work in real life. So if you're interested in van plumbing, the next live stream will be on that. And yeah, just to kind of close out this live stream, as you can see, we finished the upper cabinets. Those are all bolted back in place. We finished installing the WeBoost antenna. That's all good. Reinstalled the Isotherm Cruise 130 refrigerator. I refinished the top of the Flatline Vanco bamboo countertops for Brian and Robin. The power system's going to get knocked out. That's going to be checked off. So really, this side of the van will have this side right here. This is the final part of the van to get knocked out, and then it will be ready for them. So yeah, we are just trucking along here with this van build. Okay, TC has a last question. So mounting the bottom of the electrical cabinet also uses the rib nuts bolts. Okay, so for the bottom of the cabinet, what I would do is I would drill a hole. Instead of using a rib nut for the bottom of the cabinet, if you can precisely cut, let's see here. Does my little pad here work? Hold on, I'm gonna answer your question. Here we go. This thing's taking forever. Okay. So we've got the bottom of the van. This is the bottom of your van, TC. And let's say this is the wall of your van. Okay, this is your spare tire, for example. So what you want to do is, there's probably some type of structure underneath your van, so you don't want to hit that. There might be some brackets, something like that. I don't know. I'm just making this all up. So find a place in your van that looks safe and drill a hole through there. And then what you want to do is you want to use grade 8 bolts. You can pick those up from Lowe's or Home Depot. They're going to look like almost like a brass color. They are not brass, but they kind of look like brass. Like the way that they're coated. But they'll say grade 8 bolts, and you want to get those. And those grade 8 bolts are what you want to come and bolt through the floor. So this is the best way to do it. Because using the riv nut over here, that's okay on this because it's thin, but this you don't want to, if you want to be as safe as possible, you want to through bolt. So let's go through bolting. So you put a bolt, and then you're going to want to make sure that you have a washer here, a washer underneath there, and then you want to finish it off with a lock washer up here up top. And then get a grade 8 nut on the bottom. And then do that. And then up top, you can use something like, you could use like a piece of angle iron or something like that. Something like that, like a piece of angle iron. And then you just have, you had that bolt coming through. Something like that. And then you can, I don't know, say this is your piece of wood or whatever, and you can have that kind of bracketed in like that. So that's just a couple ideas. But yeah, this is going to be the safest option, is through bolting it through the floor. So this is through. This is through bolts, and then this would be riv nuts. Yeah, so you want to have riv nuts here, and you want to do through bolts there. That would be the, in my opinion, the best way to do it, safest way to do it, the strongest way to do it. And so, yeah, thank you guys for all the great questions. These are great questions. I love listening to these questions, answering them. And if you guys have any particular questions on the van course, something that you think may not be in there and you want addressed, put that in the comments. I'm completely down for adding more stuff to the course. But yeah, thank you for all the great questions. We're going to sign off for the night or the afternoon, and we'll see you guys in the next live stream.